Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back. In this video, we're looking at the Tuesday MLB slate for DraftKings and Fanduel. Hope you guys had a good Monday of MLB. It was a good day for us. If you guys used the picks here, had Glasnow and Peralta as the pitchers. Lowry, Canna, and Laureano came through as a stack after it was kind of they came through as a late night stack. The early stacks didn't do great except for Higgy hitting 2 bombs for the Yankees side. So 177.5 on DraftKings. Fanduel hit 176. Also, those three came through on FanDuel. Was thinking about doing an Angel stack, and sad I did not stick to that. But it was a good day for baseball. Let's go ahead and get into this one. So as always, appreciate if you guys hit the like button, subscribe if you haven't already, if you guys get any useful info out of these videos, and let's get started. So looking at the totals today, 11 games on this one. First game is the Mariners against the Baltimore Orioles. You got two below-average pitchers against two below-average offenses. I would not look to any of these pitchers. Obviously, we have some great pitching options to consider, so you definitely don't want to play any of these guys. But for stacking, you could look to some Orioles. I'm not really looking at the Mariners side. Next game, we have Tyon against Ryu, the Yankees side. They're always good against left-handed pitching. Ryu is a very good pitcher, but I'd still look to Stanton as a one-off. Torres, Judge, a small three-man stack of them. LeMahieu is also very good against lefties, so you definitely could stack up the Yankees again today. Blue Jay side, they're fine as a stack. They're not one of my main stacks today. I like Biggio. I like Grichuk's been doing well, and then you have like Gurriel as a cheap guy to put into your stacks. And if you wanted to go expensive, go for Bichette and Gurriel. But they're not on my top three stacks of the list, or top three stacks of the day today. Neither is any of these two teams in the next game. Gibson against Yarbrough. Yarbrough would be in play on most slates, but today I think there's definitely a few pitchers that I would rather go above him. One pitcher that I love today is Brandon Woodruff. He's only 75 against these Cubbies. They strike out a ton, as we've seen all season so far. They only have a 3.5 total on the road. You definitely can fire up Woodruff. He's way too talented to be at that price tag. Pablo Lopez, I don't want to stack up the Braves against him. He's a solid pitcher. I definitely don't want to play him either. I'd rather play Max Fried at $6,500, but neither of these four offenses I'm looking to stack. You also have Steven Strasburg and Flaherty, both at good price tags. I'd probably go Strasburg over Flaherty, but they're both in play. You have so many good pitching options today. It's pretty crazy. Astros against Matthew Boyd. I think Boyd will kind of turn his season around, or turn his kind of bounce back after he had a really bad year last year. He's a talented pitcher, and just had a bad year last year. I think he'll definitely make some improvements this year. You could look to stacking up the Astros. They're probably like my fourth or fifth stack of the board today, but they're not my main one. My favorite stacks are going to be the Dodgers are my favorite against Sensatella. He doesn't strike you out. He gives up, especially to lefties, he gives up some pop, and these Dodgers hitters are going to put the ball in play. Even though they don't have Bellinger in the lineup, hopefully Betts returns. There's optimism that he will return today, so that would definitely help a stack. So they're my favorite stack. And then I love the Angels are my second favorite stack against Duffy. He was good on opening day, but this Angels team is rolling so far. I love a stack of Trout, Upton, even like Fletcher and Ohtani, even though it's lefty-lefty, or you can put in Pujols if you wanted to. Stick to the righties, but Ohtani's been hitting the ball off of everybody. If Duffy doesn't last long in this game, you'll get to face off against some righties in the bullpen. Then you have two of the best pitchers in baseball scoring off Glasnow, or Giolito and Bieber facing off in Chicago. Both guys are super talented. On this type of slate, I don't know if you need to go to an expensive pitcher because you have so many cheap pitchers. Another guy is Luis Castillo and Gausman. Both guys $7,100 and cheaper. Gausman only $6,800. I do not understand the pricing. So looking at the stacks, Dodgers are my favorite, followed by the Angels, probably followed by I would say the Astros are my third stack, then the Blue Jays, and then the Yankees. Looking at the DraftKings pitching prices, you have two guys above 10K. I'd probably go Bauer over Bieber just because the White Sox offense is pretty lethal. Bauer's my favorite spend up, then Bieber, then Giolito. But you have so many cheap pitchers. Strasburg is only $8,400. He looks great. Flaherty's only $8,100. He's definitely in play. And then you have Woodruff at 75, Castillo at 71, and you have Max Fried at 65. So many great pitching options today. For me, I'm going to stick to go cheaper so I can pay up for some bats because I think Castillo and Woodruff can probably combine for like maybe 50 DraftKings points a day, and that's probably going to be similar to going with like Bauer. and going with another cheap guy, and I'll definitely have more ability to pay up for my hitters. So Castillo against this Giants offense on the road gets a huge ballpark bump instead of pitching in a huge hitter-friendly park. Is going up into San Francisco, even though the wind is blowing out. It's not so much of a factor when they have a 3.8 total. And then Woodruff at home against this Cubbies team, which strikes out a ton. We can look at the plate IQ for these two guys if you guys want to take a dive into that. Castillo to start, you see about a 20% K rate for the 8 hitters, and he also gets the pitcher, so that will probably be a couple of strikeouts right there. Listella doesn't strike out much, so you can't really strike him out, but you have Yastrzemski, Belt, Crawford, bottom half strikes out a decent amount. So do like Castillo, he throws all 4 of his pitches, mixes them up, so he's keeping hitters off balance for the whole game. And then for Woodruff, another great strikeout pitcher. You see his strikeout rate is over 30%, almost 32%, and you see about a 26% K rate for these hitters. Baez strikes out a ton, Happ, Contreras, Bryant, ton of strikeouts for these Cubbies here. Feel good about going with these two pitchers. They're both super cheap. So looking at stacks options today, first base, looking at guys that I want to stack up. If we look at Max Muncy on the Dodgers side, he's $5,200. I'm going to go ahead and put him in here. The advanced stuff for this Dodgers game, you see Sensatella about a 4.7 xFIP, only a 13% K rate, which is definitely not going to get the job done. Only positive I can say about him is that he keeps the ball on the ground, over a 50% ground ball rate. But these Dodgers hitters don't strike out very much in general. Muncy's over 20%, but about an overall 19% K rate for the team. You'll see them be able to put the ball in play against a low strikeout pitcher. He throws a fastball about over 55% of the time. Max Muncy, 405 ISO against the fastball. His next most thrown pitch is the slider. Muncy still a decent 143 ISO. Changeup, he throws 12% of the time. Muncy struggles against that pitch. And then the last pitch is the curveball, 163 ISO. So at least the primary pitch, he's hitting over 400 ISO, which is the second highest on the team. Gotta like Max Muncy if I'm stacking up the Dodgers here. I never really play Albert Pujols very often, but he's only $3,400. If this Angel stack goes off, you could see him. He's been much better against lefties and righties over his past few years, so if he has a chance to hit one out of the park, it will be today against a lefty and Duffy who struggles against righties. You could go with Vogelbach, Aguilar as 2 cheap pump plays at $3,100. But going cheap at pitcher, I'm going to be able to pay up for my hitter. So I'm going to stake up to guys above like 4K. I'll be able to fit in whatever stacks I want. And then Ohtani would be the last guy, $4,500. He's killing it. He's killing the baseball right now. Had like a 116 mile per hour double yesterday. He's absolutely crushing the ball right now. Moving on to second base, Merrifield continues to be the most expensive guy on the slate, or at least at second base. $5,800 for him. Not really looking at the Royal stack today, so I'm not going to get to him as a one-off. I'd rather go down to like a Fletcher at $4,400. You could see, Jack Mayfield get some reps here with them putting Rendon on the injured list, so he's $2,200 if he happens to get the start here. I don't know if Taylor is a second base option. I think he is on the outfield. He is second base. Taylor, $4,300. Second base outfield eligibility would also be a solid option. Third base here, I love Turner. He's been hitting the ball really well right now, even though it's a righty-righty matchup. Almost batting 400. He doesn't strike out much. It's only 6 Ks so far in 37 at-bats. Hits the ball in play, has power. At home, he's batting .455 in 11 at-bats, but he's a guy that you really want to get to if you are stacking up the Dodgers here, especially without Cody Bellinger. At least he gets another power bat in the lineup for a stack. You could also go cheap at this position if you wanted to save some money. We'll see if any of these stacks that I like are cheap. Without Rendon, we'll see if we get an Angels third base option. You have Jose Rojas, who has a ton of power. He was great in the AAA last year. He's 0 for 14 to start, so it hasn't 0 for 13 to start. It hasn't really got it going yet. If he happens to be in the lineup today, you could look to him as a cheap guy, even though it is lefty-lefty, so he might not be in the lineup. But if they happen to keep him in there, it could be a low-owned option here. But going back to shortstop, stacking up the Dodgers, I'm going to go with Corey Seager. He's got to be in your lineup. Lefty-lefty, if you are going to be stacking up the Dodgers, has yet to hit a bomb this season. I definitely think that could happen today. He's still hitting the ball really well. Only on the season he struck out 9 times, 38 at-bats. He's hit the ball well against the Rockies. That was in Coors earlier this season. hopefully he continues to hit well off of them, and he's a guy that has a ton of power against righties, so you gotta like him. He's my favorite shortstop of the day. Other guys to consider potentially are like Carlos Correa, $4,700 lefty matchup for him. He hits the ball well against lefties. You have Iglesias, $3,700 against a lefty. The Angels have some good BVP against Duffy, so he's in the mix. And then if you wanted to go down to like a good roam, you could, $2,900. Moving on into the outfield, I'm going to go up to a Mike Trout. He's crushing the ball right now against a lefty and Duffy. Trout mashes lefties. He also mashes righties. Batting almost 400 on the season. At home, he's batting 368 with a couple bombs. Gives you speed. Hasn't stolen a base yet this season, but we know he has the ability to do that. Has 3 hits against and 5 at-bats against lefties. Last year, he batted 245 with 3 home runs and just 53 at-bats. 2019, he batted 266 on this career numbers. He hits both sides of the plate well. 288 average against lefties with a very solid 239 ISO, 21% K rate. Definitely gotta like Mike Trout today. And then last guy is gonna be Justin Upton. He has 3 home runs off of Duffy and like 19 at-bats in his career. He hits lefties well, much better than he does against righties. At least recently, we can look at his numbers here pretty quickly. Look at his splits. This year, it's only 10 at-bats. He just has, or 6 at-bats. He has 1 hit and 6 at-bats. 2020, he batted 219 with 6 home runs and 64 at-bats. So that was very solid in terms of power. A very solid 232 ISO. So I'm going to go ahead and like what I see out of Justin Upton today. So go ahead and put him in my last outfield spot. So that's it for the DK side. Looking at 2 cheap pitchers, going with the Angels and a Dodgers stack today. Let's go ahead and look at FanDuel. FanDuel baseball pitching, same kind of deal. You got a lot of expensive guys. Strasburg's a lot more expensive on FanDuel than he is on DraftKings, but I'm going to go ahead and go with a cheap pitcher because I like these guys that I think they have a ton of upside. Woodruff is 8,800. Castillo 84, Flaherty 82. They all give you a ton of upside. You can even go all the way down to like a Max Fried at 76. But I like Castillo a lot today. I think he's going to put on a clinic on the road in San Francisco just because the ballpark is so nice. And usually for him, if he's not striking out, he could give up some pop. But this ballpark will definitely suppress some home runs. And then it's going with the same stacks that I mentioned. Dodgers and Angels are my 2 favorite stacks today. So looking at catcher first base, go with Max Muncy. Only $3,200. He's super cheap. Hitting for high average this season. Only has 1 bomb, but good spot for him to probably get another one. Second base, you can look to like Merrifield if you go in cheap at pitcher just because you have some salary. You can go down to DJ LeMahieu at 34 against a lefty. You could even play Max Muncy here and then go up to a catcher / first base option. You can go with Chris Taylor at only 3,100 if he's in the lineup. So we've got a lot of options here. You could even go with Kevin Biggio at 2,800 is really cheap for him against Tyon. So as a one-off, he would be one of my favorites because he gives you pop, and that's what you want as a one-off. Third base, we have Bregman, 39 against a lefty. He hits lefties really well, so he's got to be in consideration. Vlad Guerrero, looking like he's having a very good season so far. I think that will continue. Unfortunately, Rendon's on the injured list. I would have loved to play him against a lefty today. If we can't do that, you can go down to maybe a Travis Shaw at 29. He gives you some pop. Urshela gives you power as well. So, got a lot of guys to consider. But I'm sticking with the Dodgers and Angels in this video. Shortstop, go with Corey Seager. I think he's going to have a very good day today. He's only $3,900. So, a solid price tag for him. He's a couple $100 or $100 cheaper than Turner against Flaherty. So, I don't want to play Turner really. You have Bichette as a potential pivot at 3,400. But I'm going to stick with Seager today. You could even go down to Carlos Correa. He's a very streaky hitter, and he's on a hot streak right now. And then in the outfield, go up to it just an Upton. Upton is only 2,700, and then Mike Trout. 2 guys I love on the Angel side. Hopefully they bat right behind each other. We could see some back-to-back pops, back-to-back home runs from those 2 today. That would be a fun sight to see. But it still leaves you with 3,100 left, so you can mix and match on the remaining spots. But these are the 4 hitters I really like. The stacks that I really like, and Castillo is my favorite pitcher on FanDuel. So that's it for the video. Thank you guys for watching. Best of luck tonight, and see you all next time.